So we've got our two materials set in the scene. If I click my render production button, the far right teapot at the top here, we'll see that I've got both materials set. I've got my white material and I've got my glass material. So I'm going to close down this and I'm going to close down my material editor. Now what I'm going to do, we look at that render and it doesn't look very nice at the moment. Black background, there's no real shadows and the material is looking quite poor. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some lights to our scene. Now we're going to do this very simply and very quickly, and we're going to come across to our panel on the right hand side here, and we're going to click on the Create tab. We're going to come across and click on the far right button, the Systems, the little gears here, this icon, and we're going to select Daylight. We're going to create a daylight scene. Now 3dsMax is going to ask us if we want to do some automatic things. It's going to ask us if we want to use the mental ray photographic exposure control set, and we want to set this at 15 for an outdoor scene. So we're going to go yes, let's do that. Now in our top view I'm going to set this daylight system. The first thing we're going to do is click and drag, and we should see this compass rose, and I'm going to release the left mouse button, and it's asking, you're creating a mental ray sky, shall I add a mental ray physical sky to the environment map? So we want this to be done automatically, so we click the yes again, and now I drag away from that compass rose, and you'll see in the elevation I have the daylight head moving upwards away from the ground. So I click when I'm happy, and that's the system set in the scene. So if I just very quickly come back to my camera view and hit on the render button, we're now seeing a much nicer quality of light, quality of material, and there's that physical sky in our background. I'm just going to cancel out of the render here. We don't want to finish that. Now I'm just going to tidy things up in my viewport a little bit, so back into the top view, and I'm going to try and select my compass. If I'm having trouble finding the compass, I can come into my select by name again, and I can see my compass here. I could start typing for compass to try and select it. I can click on it and click OK. Now I'm going to come back to the right hand to the command panel here to modify. I'm just going to change that radius so it's something more appropriate in my scene. So if I hit Alt W to maximize the top viewport, I can see I have my compass and I have here my daylight system. If I click on my daylight system in the modify panel, I should see that the sunlight is active with a mental ray sun, Mr. Sun, and the skylight is active with the mental ray sky. Now what we can do also if we select our daylight system here is we come across to the motion tab and we can set our location. So I'm going to click on the get location button. I'm going to come to Australia and I'm going to click on Auckland here, New Zealand, and click OK. And we'll see that our sun is flipped around to the other side. So this is telling us we're in the southern hemisphere. If I have that daylight selected again, I can see that I can change the month of the year and I can change the hours in the day. So we'll see that the sun moving around at the different hours of the day. I'm going to hit Alt W and just zoom out in my viewports here, change those times of the day again, and you'll see the sun rising and setting. Now if we set our render early in the day, we're going to see a different quality of light in our render scene here. We see a much more orangey type of light rather than the more stark white light we were seeing in the middle of the day. So a useful control here for our scene for setting our daylight and starting to work with the quality of the light in our scene and our materials.